I know you probably know this already, but I think this is important for a lot of my followers to hear. The future is never going to look like sci-fi. Old science shows tried to predict what life was like now, and they were always very off. That's because scientific advancement fundamentally changes the way we do things, whereas sci-fi is usually based on the way things are, just made better. It's like flying cars. Flying cars used to be looked at as a fairly obvious advancement we would get in the future. Now, flying cars are not impossible, we can make them right now. But they're not safe, they don't give us any benefit, they're hugely energy inefficient, it's just a bad idea. Flying cars are not the future. They are just cars through the lens of what someone thought would make them cooler. Similar, think of like video conferencing. If you remember movies like Back to the Future or cartoons like The Jetsons, video conferencing always took place on these huge screens that were plastered all over your walls. And again, we can do that, but that's really inefficient. Now it usually happens here on our phones. And it was portrayed in those shows in that way because, again, we took something that we already knew we could do, transmit video images, and made it bigger and cooler. Now, things like Star Trek or Star Wars or any sci-fi where we're traveling faster than light across the galaxy or to other galaxies, that's kind of the same thing. We're looking at the way we usually travel and we are making it bigger and cooler. But like fundamentally what Star Trek or any sci-fi show is doing is just taking the concept of a bus or a train or an airplane and making it bigger and cooler. But then when people look into the actual applications of faster than light in a real scientific setting, they start getting depressed because they're like, "Aw, we're never going to achieve this." Well, yes, we very rarely achieve science the way it looks in sci-fi shows. We achieve something that is more practical, both due to the laws of science and in the realm of mass application, mass availability to everyone. Whatever form of space travel we eventually have, whether it's local or otherwise, is not going to look like a big space bus. Right now, that's all we can conceive of. We can conceive of our current methods of transportation, but bigger and cooler. But the reality, working within the constraints of relativity, is just going to look a lot different. And I personally think that that reality, whatever it is going to be far cooler than the giant faster-than-light space bus, which is impossible. And that's why I'm not depressed when I know that the speed of light is a limiting factor in the way that we travel across the universe. I'm not depressed we don't have wall-sized video phones because I really like my smartphone. I'm not depressed we're not going to have faster-than-light space buses. I'm sure I'm going to like whatever we come up with otherwise.